Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Revisiting Disney. If you're not familiar with the series, this is the series in which I go around to different attractions in Walt Disney World, and I play the role of Imagineer for a day, and I talk about how I would change the ride, replace the ride, keep it the same, what I would do with the ride, essentially. It's not based on fact, it's not based on rumor, nothing that's actually coming up with the attractions. It's just my fun game of what if, and I think it's fun to go around and take a look and see what you would do if you were the boss of Disney for a day. So today we are here in Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom at Stitch's Great Escape. This is the one that was most requested after the last episode, which was Tom Sawyer's Island. So I figured let's head on over and let's revisit Stitch's Great Escape. Now, if you don't know what Stitch's Great Escape is, it's sort of like an interactive, immersive show. You go into this theater, this round theater, and you sit in a seat, and a show plays out in front of you with animatronics and all these different effects that are supposed to really immerse you into the experience. Now, this is a controversial ride to cover because some people love Stitch, some people hate this ride. Some people hate it because they don't like the ride. Some people hate it because they're bitter because it replaced extraterrestrial alien encounter. It's a very polarizing subject when it comes to Disney attractions. I am going to suggest that we replace it completely. I don't mind Stitch. I wasn't a big fan of extraterrestrial alien encounter, so I wasn't too upset when it was replaced, but at the same time, Stitch doesn't really wow me. Here's what I'm thinking. You've got this sort of stage setup where it's everybody in a circular theater for this show. Now, before Alien Encounter, it was a ride called Mission to Mars, and before that, it was something called Rocket to the Moon, or Trip to the Moon, or Journey to the Moon. I keep forgetting the name. But the idea was, similarly, you would sit in this theater, and they brought you to these different planets, and that was back when, Journey to the Moon was before we had actually landed on the moon, and then we landed on the moon, and it went from being Tomorrowland to Todayland, and they had to replace it, and so they did Mars, and then eventually Alien Encounter sort of popped in. I think what we should do with this attraction is go back to that in style or in format, and then update the aesthetics and everything else about it so that it's something different. Now, I'm not saying let's do Mission to Mars or Journey to the Moon or anything. What I'm saying is let's use that theater in that way that those two attractions did. Let's turn it into almost like a very immersive rocket ship simulator where everyone's sitting in this circular theater. And now with today's technology, in the first attraction there is a screen on the floor and a screen on the top, and that was sort of how you saw out of the rocket, quote unquote. But now you could line the walls with these really high resolution, screens, and we can make it look like those are the windows that we're seeing out of the spaceship. And wouldn't it be cool to do sort of a fun trip into space, maybe visit Mars, visit the moon, visit space stations? But here's the thing. Keep it stylized very heavily in that 1950s Jetson style that Tomorrowland has been known for recently. The whole concept of Tomorrowland used to be, this is what the world of tomorrow is going to look like. Well, that sort of became outdated very fast because tomorrow came and then it became yesterday, and sort of Epcot's Future World was supposed to pick up that slack a little bit and be about the world of tomorrow. And so what Tomorrowland eventually did become was what we used to think the world of tomorrow was going to be like. So that's why you have that sort of 1950s style. You have Astro Orbiter, things like that. Space Mountain uses very old, 50s, 60s aesthetic that you saw in that era, and that's sort of what you expected. It's cool if you look at Horizons. If you've ever ridden Horizons, there's actually a scene where they look back at what they thought the future was going to be like in the 50s, and people are, everything's neon and in space, and it has a very Jetsons look to it, and they're hula hooping, and it's this idea that the style from that era never left. It's just the technology advanced. So why not take that style, put it into an attraction like this, so that you're riding a rocket ship that looks like something out of Jetsons, and you're visiting a space station that would be out of something like the Jetsons. Very similar to the artistic style that you see in the end videos of Spaceship Earth today. That's sort of very cartoony, lighthearted trip. And then, you can have it so that there's a crazy mishap on the ship and you're going wild out into space. Something very fun and lighthearted. I think the reason why Alien Encounter switching to Stitch was such a polarizing event for so many people was because it was such a heavy shift in tone. It went from being something that was genuinely scary to something that's very super lighthearted, and people liked one or the other. But I'm a big fan of Tomorrowland being sort of on the more lighthearted scale, because it's supposed to be this like bright look at the world of tomorrow. And so that's sort of what I think we should do with it. It's not a drastic change in terms of the way the ride functions. You know, you take out the animatronic in the middle, so you don't have that big test chamber. You have the screen on the bottom and the top and all along the sides, so from your perspective it looks like you're looking out of a rocket ship that you're sitting in. You can have the rumbling seats and all the other tricks that Disney's so fantastic at to make it seem as realistic as possible, and you go on this fun, crazy adventure through space. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't think you have to tie it to any sort of intellectual property of Disney. It doesn't have to be a movie tie-in or anything like that. Just something original, fun, lighthearted that the entire family can enjoy, and has a like really good throwback to some old Tomorrowland rides, while at the same time keeping within the spirit of what Tomorrowland is today. So there you have it. That's what I would do with Stitch's Great Escape. Whether you agree with me, you disagree, you love the ride, you hate the ride, you want to see it stay the same or change, let me know in the comments below. I love to hear your people's opinions when it comes to these rides. It's always fun to play What If and to be Imagineer for a day. And more importantly, if you have a ride that you would like to see me revisit next, let me know in the comments below, because like this ride and like the one before it, it was totally picked based on your guys' submission. I want to thank you all for watching. If you want to follow me on the social networks, I'm at Rob Plays on Twitter. I'm Rob Plays That Game on Facebook and Instagram. But most importantly, if you want to help out the channel, the best thing you can do is just tell a friend. Maybe they'll enjoy these videos as much as you do. Anyway, have a great week. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it, because it makes it so much better. And I'll see you all next time for the next episode of Revisiting Disney World. Bye, everybody.